The message arrived at Terra Command on a quiet morning. Admiral Helena Vance was drinking her coffee when the transmission came through. The alien face on the screen belonged to High Prophet Zealots of the Valkyrie Dominion. His 4 eyes burned with religious fire. His scaled face twisted into what humans had learned to recognize as hatred. "Creatures of Terra," the prophet spoke. "Your kind has spread across the stars like a disease. You have touched sacred worlds. You have built your metal cities on holy ground. The great flame demands your extinction. We declare eternal holy war upon your species. Every man, woman, and child will burn. Your worlds will become ash. Your memory will be erased from existence. This is the will of the flame." The transmission ended. Silence filled the command center. Officers looked at each other with worried expressions. The Valkyrie Dominion controlled 47 star systems. They had been conquering and converting alien species for 3,000 years. Their fleets were massive. Their warriors fought without fear of death because they believed dying in holy war guaranteed paradise. Admiral Vance set down her coffee cup. She had served humanity for 40 years. She had seen many threats come and go. She pressed a button on her console. "Get me the Imperial Council," she said calmly, "and wake up the First Fleet." Within hours, the message had spread across human space. Fear gripped many colonies. The Valkyrie were known throughout the galaxy as unstoppable conquerors. Species that resisted them were destroyed completely. Species that surrendered were forced to convert or face death. Their religion taught that non-believers were not truly alive, and killing them was not murder. But something strange happened on human worlds. Instead of panic, there was anger. Instead of despair, there was determination. Recruitment centers reported lines stretching around buildings. Factories increased production without being asked. Scientists canceled vacations and returned to their laboratories. Emperor Marcus Chun addressed humanity from the Golden Palace on Terra. He was an old man with kind eyes that had turned hard. "The Valkyrie believe we are weak because we value peace," he said. "They believe we are soft because we prefer diplomacy. They have made a terrible mistake. Humanity did not conquer the stars by being weak. We did not survive ice ages, plagues, and wars by being soft. We extended friendship to the galaxy. That friendship has been rejected. So be it." He paused and looked directly into the camera. "To the Valkyrie Dominion, I say this. You have declared holy war on humanity. We accept. But understand what you have done. You have not awakened a sleeping giant. You have opened a door that cannot be closed. You have summoned something ancient and terrible. We are coming." The first Imperial fleet assembled at the Proxima shipyards. 200 warships of various classes gathered information. At the center was the Inn's Retribution, the largest battleship ever constructed by human hands. It was 3 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to glass a planet. Admiral Vance stood on the bridge of the Retribution. Around her, officers worked with quiet efficiency. There was no fear in their eyes. There was only purpose. "Admiral," her tactical officer reported. "The Valkyrie fleet detected at the Helios system. 400 ships. They are attacking the colony. Helios was home to 2 million humans. It was a farming world, peaceful and undefended. The Valkyrie had chosen it specifically to make a statement. How long until we arrive?" Vance asked. 16 hours at maximum speed. Make it 12. Push the engines past safety limits if you have to." The fleet jumped to faster than light speed. In the engine rooms, crews worked desperately to squeeze every bit of power from the reactors. 2 ships suffered engine failures. They fell behind, but ordered their companions to continue without them. The Valkyrie fleet surrounded Helios like wolves around prey. High Prophet Zealots watched from his flagship as his warriors descended to the surface. The humans had no military presence. They had only farming equipment and homes. His warriors would slaughter them easily. "Begin the purification," he ordered. "Let the flame consume them." On the surface, landing craft touched down near the largest city. Volcari warriors poured out with weapons raised. They expected screaming civilians running in terror. They expected easy kills and quick victory. Instead, they found empty streets. The humans had evacuated into underground shelters built for asteroid impacts. The warriors searched for entrances, but found them sealed with heavy blast doors. "Break through," the ground commander ordered. Before they could begin, a sound filled the air. It was a rumble that grew into a roar. The sky turned bright as 200 human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly above the planet. In space, High Prophet Zealots stared at his display in disbelief. The human fleet had arrived far sooner than any calculation had predicted. It should have been impossible. "All ships, attack formation," he commanded. "The flame protects us." Admiral Vance studied the enemy positions. The Volcari had numerical superiority. Their ships were larger on average. By standard military calculation, the battle would be costly for both sides. Helena Vance had not become admiral by following standard calculations. "Signal all ships," she said. "Execute Formation Omega-7. Target their flagship first. I want the Prophet to see his fleet burn before he dies." The human fleet moved with perfect coordination. Each captain knew exactly where to be and when. They had trained for years in simulations. They had studied every battle in human history. They had learned from victories and defeats going back thousands of years. The first volley of missiles left human ships in a coordinated wave. 15,000 warheads streaked toward the Volcari fleet. Point defense systems on the alien ships began firing. They destroyed many missiles. But there were too many targets, too many angles, too many simultaneous threats. Explosions blossomed across the Volcari formation. 30 ships died in the first exchange. The alien fleet fired back with plasma cannons and beam weapons. Human shields flared under the assault. 3 destroyers were destroyed. A cruiser lost power and drifted away from battle. But the human fleet kept advancing. They closed the distance rapidly. At close range, human weapons were devastating. The magnetic accelerator cannons on the Retribution could punch through any armor. Each shot sent a slug of metal at a fraction of light speed. High Prophet Zealots watched his holy warriors die. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were being torn apart. The humans fought with cold precision. There was no hesitation, no fear, no mercy. "They fight like demons," his tactical officer whispered. "They are demons," Zealots replied. "But the flame will prevail." He ordered his ships to ram the human vessels. Suicide attacks were holy acts in Volcari religion. Ships accelerated toward the human formation, pilots praying as they aimed for collision. Admiral Vance had expected this. Human ships executed evasive maneuvers that should have been impossible for vessels of their size. The pilots and the eye systems worked together seamlessly. Of the 50 ramming attempts, only 2 succeeded. 2 human cruisers were destroyed. 48 Volcari ships wasted themselves against empty space. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the Volcari fleet was destroyed. High Prophet Zealots floated in an escape pod, watching the wreckage of his flagship drift among the stars. Human marines would capture him soon. But this was only the beginning. Over the following months, the Imperial fleet struck at Volcari space with terrifying speed. They did not follow the slow, grinding warfare that other species had attempted. They jumped past defensive lines. They struck at supply centers and communication hubs. They appeared where they were not expected and vanished before reinforcements arrived. The Volcari had never faced an enemy like this. Their previous opponents had fought defensive wars, trying to protect their worlds. Humans fought an offensive war, carrying the battle directly to Volcari territory. Colony worlds fell one by one, not to destruction, but to liberation. Human soldiers freed the converted species that had been enslaved by the Dominion. They offered these free peoples a choice: join humanity or go their own way. Many chose to fight alongside their liberators. The religious leaders of the Valkyrie could not understand what was happening. Their holy texts said they were destined to conquer the galaxy. Their prophecies promised victory against all enemies. How could these humans be winning? Emperor Marcus Chun offered peace terms. They were generous. The Valkyrie could keep their religion. They could keep their home systems. They would only need to free their slaves and stop their conquests. The Valkyrie High Council rejected the offer. Their faith would not allow surrender. The war continued. Human fleets pushed deeper into Dominion space. They reached the homeworld of Valkars within 2 years. The planet was surrounded by the largest defensive fleet ever assembled. 3,000 ships waited to protect the sacred world. Admiral Vance arrived with 800 vessels. The math favored the defenders heavily. Any reasonable commander would have waited for reinforcements. Helena Vance ordered the attack. The Battle of Valkars became legendary. Human ships fought with absolute determination. They used tactics that military academies would study for centuries. They exploited weaknesses in Valkyrie formations. They turned the enemy's numbers against them, creating confusion and friendly fire incidents. The battle lasted 9 days. Both sides suffered terrible losses. But when the plasma cooled and the debris settled, human ships held orbit over Valkyries. The surviving Valkyrie leaders finally agreed to negotiate. They had no choice. Their fleet was broken. Their empire was crumbling. The species they had enslaved were rising up across their territory. The peace treaty was signed on the bridge of the Inn's retribution. The same ship that had fired the first shots now witnessed the end of the conflict. High Prophet Zealots, who had declared humanity's extinction, was forced to watch as his government agreed to free all enslaved species. Admiral Vance stood beside Emperor Chun as the documents were signed. She felt no joy in victory. Too many had died on both sides. But she felt pride in what humanity had accomplished. "You fight like no species we have ever encountered," Zealots said to her quietly. "Where does such ferocity come from?" Vance considered the question. She thought of human history, the wars, the struggles, the endless fighting to survive. She thought of the determination that had carried humanity from caves to stars. "We learned it from ourselves," she answered. "Long before we met aliens, we spent thousands of years fighting each other. We got very good at it. We had hoped to leave that violence behind. You reminded us that some threats cannot be talked away." The news of victory spread across human space. There were celebrations on every world. But there was also a warning in this victory. Humanity had shown the galaxy what it was capable of when threatened. Other species took note. The Valkyrie had declared holy war, expecting easy conquest. They had found something very different. They had found a species that refused to die quietly. A species that turned peaceful farmers into determined soldiers overnight. A species that could match fanatical zeal with cold professional skill. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humanity preferred peace. They truly did. They would extend friendship to any species willing to receive it. But those who chose war would find that the children of Terra were not prey. They were the most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever produced. And they were just getting started.